Sure, no problem.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. We are so excited to meet a special guest in our midst today. She is from Kenya, and her name is Imali. She's passionate about championing gender equality and climate action and advocate. She's also a journalist. So we are welcoming you here, Ma. So we are very happy to see you accepting our invitation. So thank you so much. So we want you
Thank you.
to so we want you to share more light about your work. What drives you into having passion about gender equality and climate action advocates?
So thank you so much, Oladosu. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yeah.
As you've rightfully said, my name is Imalingo Sale, and I am an accredited journalist because I studied communication for quite some time. I also co-run an media agency, which is known as the Africa Science News Network, with a friend of mine. And the whole idea is to make sure the narrative of climate change is discussed using different lenses. And we also try to be as objective as possible. I really like your question on how does gender equality and climate change intersect. And for me, I actually hold the view that we should have never talked about climate change without keeping in mind that gender equality is quintessential. It is quintessential for the simple reason that climate change in itself disproportionately affects women in Africa more than men. And statistics show this is not just a proverbial thing that people say. Statistics do show that women are indeed mainly cultivators in farmlands, and they're also now the breadwinners, which initially was not the case, but things have changed drastically. And also women are the ones responsible for nurturing care and nutrition to their children. So by extension, women do a lot when it comes to just ensuring that there's food security, tilling the land, and agriculture, just as a whole spectrum. In fact, last year we did have a discussion on this at the African Union level, and the former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, actually did say that the future of agriculture is gender because of the proportion of which women do contribute to agriculture. But just having said that, the reason why we cannot discuss climate action or issues to do with climate change autonomously and not include gender is because it would be devoid of the truth. It would be it would lack the real things that women in Africa in general go through. I can just give a few examples of the different countries I've had the privilege of working in, and maybe that can drive this point home. When I worked in Nigeria, I did actually learn that yes, the family land can be owned by both genders, but women will make sure that early in the morning when it's time to cultivate, that there's enough for the workers, there's enough portion. So more often than not, they would do the hard work, but then the men would supervise. And these are men who maybe are interested in even understanding their livelihood. So that in itself means that the women will do 80% and the men will do 20%. Then zoom to countries like Kenya, where most of the landowners now are women. And this is also because it's been something that has been changing over time, because last 10 years ago, most of the land was owned by men. But now with the changes in laws and women having the right to own the land, now you're seeing more women farmers being able to do a lot of food production and by extension food security. And I can guarantee you that if you look at the caucuses of farmers, you'll see a significant number of them are women. I've not been able to do a study to extrapolate the specific percentage, but I can guarantee you it's more than 55% of farmers in Kenya are women. Then we scale down to maybe I'm not so sure about South Africa because I didn't like go to the farms in that land, but I know like in Namibia it's predominantly men who own the farm, but women also do a lot of work in it. So I cannot say to what extent in terms of the percentage of gender. But in a nutshell, that a lot of women are now increasingly interested in food production in the interest of their offspring, in the interest of their well-being. So this is very critical because when we have climate changes like the climate shocks that Africa has experienced, where we had flash floods and a lot of things were wiped away from their farms, where we have conflicts and people have to flee. And of course, in the case of Nigeria, we also did have floods this year. It is the women who are affected the most because some men actually left and they never went back because there was nothing to live for. They got jobs in the cities, and some of them unfortunately remarried, and others are maybe not so concerned about the well-being of their children as opposed of the well-being of the nuclear family. So if we look at just the nexus of climate change, agriculture, and women, I think I've been able to drive this point home because you'll see that where there's climate change that affects food production, it disproportionately affects women and children. Unfortunately, the significant percentage of people who make these decisions normally say this as a chorus and not necessarily in policy, whereby, yes, we will have policy that acknowledge women are disproportionately affected by climate change. But the big question is, so